How's everybody doing today? Happy 4th of July weekend. Sorry I've been out for a couple of weeks, been very busy with family vacation, traveling for a work training and coaching conference down in Chicago, so things have been a little hectic, but nevertheless training has been going on and progressing for nationals. So quick update, we're sitting at 15 weeks out now on July 3rd, and everything's been going pretty well. Yesterday, Saturday on the 2nd, did mock meet through the strengthathlete.com, had a little charity event to benefit the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So myself as well as several others from our barbell club at Fent Fitness participated in that. I sort of used that as a test date, and it ended my last training block. This next week will be a rather uneventful deload, just work on some mobility and some light movements and a little bit of conditioning work during that time. So ended the training block pretty well. The highest the volume got was about 158,000 pounds for 1 week, and then I gradually sort of tapered it down for the test week last week. Weighed in for that meet. I didn't cut weight or anything since it was an unsanctioned online meet for charity. The weight will start to come down from here going forward. I weighed in at 197, so we got 15 pounds, roughly, about 15 pounds to drop over the next 15 weeks. So we'll sort of we'll drop the calories down to about 3,000 calories a day here going forward, and just sort of make adjustments as needed going forward from there. A couple things to know. At the testing, I ended up squatting 485 for a 13-pound PR, deadlifted 570 for a 3-pound PR, and bench pressed 320 for a 5-pound PR. So overall, I was pretty happy with those things, especially given that the point of the last training block was really just to accumulate volume and see if I could get any more hypertrophy through that accumulation. The weights were never really that heavy, and so that's actually the point that I wanted to touch on today was training weights and training versus testing. I think a mistake that a lot of younger lifters make is trying to go too heavy, try to make all those workouts and those sets sort of crushing sets. So just to sort of give you an idea, my training over the last really like 9 weeks, the heaviest I ever squatted was 415 during that entire time. The heaviest, and that was just for singles, mind you, so 415 for singles is the heaviest I went in training. On my bench press, the heaviest we went was 275 for singles, and on the deadlift, the heaviest I went was 505 for singles. So, those were the training weights, comparatively to the maxes were substantially lower. And normally, going to this next block, I will get a little bit heavier on those training weights, but they don't ever have to be incredibly heavy. They don't need to be to failure, and I will guarantee I will never miss a lift in training. I think that's a common mistake that a lot of younger lifters make, is trying to test during training all the time as opposed to practicing good technique. And it can be challenging, but again, you should never be concerned about missing a lift or scared that you're going to miss a lift. You should be focusing on technique, and it needs to be heavy enough to know what that feels like under a heavy load, but nonetheless the technique should be the primary focus, and that needs to be what we're addressing, and working on that technique, and just getting repetition after repetition in at a relatively challenging load, but not so hard that you're going to miss a lift or that your form completely goes out the window. Another thing that just sort of thoughts, coming to my mind here as we tested the rest of our barbell club members, is just the difference in programming for different individuals. So, some of our team members did, had a really great testing day, and I was really proud of that. Some of them not as good as they would have liked, as I would have liked, and that reflects on me as a coach. So, and I think one of the common themes on some of the ones that maybe didn't perform like they would have liked, or like I would have liked, is things they're doing outside of training or outside of their structured powerlifting training. A lot of them are involved in, some of our team training, more metabolic conditioning, CrossFit type workouts, and those things are harder to program. They're harder to gauge the amount of fatigue going into those. And I think for individuals like that, it's going to be a little bit harder as a coach and as an athlete to program those things, to program and account for that volume and that fatigue with a percentage-based program, which is what I tend to use because it's easy to calculated and easy to program for a large amount of people. But I think individuals, and I think what I'm going to do going forward with a lot of these individuals is use more of a rating of perceived exertion on their workouts. So as opposed to them coming in and saying, okay, you're going to do 90% of your max on squats today, we're going to say, okay, you're going to do RPE of 9, so basically 1 rep in the tank. So on one day that might be 170 pounds, on another day that might be 150 pounds. But I think psychologically that's going to be better for the lifter. It's going to make them not feel like, oh, I failed or I didn't hit the numbers I was supposed to hit. And it's going to account for, so if you crushed it in your conditioning work the night before, but that leaves you feeling a little bit drained the next day, then you can still go in and have a successful day, and that's going to account for how your body's feeling in that given day. And then there's some of our lifters that are just trained specifically for powerlifting. 4 days a week is what I have most of them on. They tend to do pretty well because I can account for the fatigue. I can account for the sets and reps and know exactly what they're going to be doing on a given day. And they tend to be pretty predictable. And if things are not going how either of us expect, then I can easily adjust that program and account for all the variables, especially if I'm handling nutrition at the same time. So there's some random thoughts on program for other lifters, where my own training is going, and thanks for checking out. I'll try to keep these a little more up to date going forward. Thanks.